So I'd just like to give a bit of a background. Um, I used to be very athletic and healthy and fit when I was young. I spent about 25 years after I had a family and kids, um, and just focusing on work and my career and making the money, which led me to become very inactive and eat very bad. It was always on the run, on the go. I was eating out every single day, 2 or 3 times a day. I was up at one point to about 8 to 10 coffees, and that was pretty bad because at the time I was drinking triples, so triple cream, not even milk, but cream and sugar. Uh, about 4 years ago, just before the pandemic, I was 2019ish, early. I think early in 2019, I was in worst shape of my life. I was about what 250 pounds, 248 pounds when I hit my largest, and I'm usually around 180. And I mean, even if you go according to like BMI, which we know is a bit tight, of course, very, very, very aggressive with their numbers. But if that was the case, I should have been about 170, which I haven't really been since I was a kid, because I do have a somewhat muscular frame, not hugely, but somewhat. So I carry a little extra muscle usually as well. But at this point, I can just straight up say I was pretty fat and out of shape and unhealthy. And what happened was I had a lot of ailments and a lot of stress, of course. And I just kept plugging away because we had to pay the bills and we had to get ahead, and we needed to, stay ahead of all of the craziness that life brings at us from a financial perspective. But one of my family members obviously kept saying, you can't help anyone if you're dead, which is totally true. And it finally dawned on me, 2019, that I was working myself to an early grave. And not just that, but had some ailments. I went to the doctors and they were having some hard time, obviously, diagnosing it exactly, but I ended up having fatty liver, and that contributed to me getting a severely bad case of SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And what that did is that caused me to become constipated chronically, and that just backed up everything. It was really horrible. It was really uncomfortable, and it wasn't something that I want to experience ever again. So I embarked on a mission, a journey to become healthy. And I just want to give a few tips here on what worked for me. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a dude who went through bad times and worked my way out. And of course, I'm still a work in progress here. By far am I not perfect. But what I started doing slowly, the first thing I did was I started to get a little bit of movement, not exercise, but just movement, get out, start moving a little bit more. I ended up actually purchasing a spin bike and an elliptical for my place, and had one in my bedroom and one in the living room area, so that no matter where I went, it would kind of make me feel guilty and want to get up and do something. So I'm just being honest. So I found that when I had only one of them, I would tend to spend, literally, if I had the spin bike out in the living room, I would spend more time in my bedroom, in my office. And then and I know this was subconsciously, but then when I moved it into the bedroom, then I would spend more time out on the couch in the living room. And so I made sure that I kind of had one everywhere I went in my home, so that it would remind me to keep moving and kind of even leverage a little bit of guilt. No problem. We use that as positivity to get moving. And then the very next thing, obviously, I did was I absolutely stopped any forms of added sugar intake. I completely stopped eating out, and I started cooking at home all the time, just regular three meals a day. I tried everything, and I just found that what worked for me ended up being just getting back to the basics and being consistent. So what I did was I embarked on a whole foods type diet, where it was just, I did do keto for a little while. I did do fasting for a little while. I ended up doing intermittent fasting for quite a bit, and then that turned into monk fasting, where I was doing, once a month I was doing a 36-hour fast. and and that was good, but I couldn't sustain it very long. And I did at that point wanted to kind of build more muscle, so to help just the passive calorie burns, and to help alleviate the plateaus and stuff that I was experiencing. And my advice is be prepared for the long haul. It is going to take time. I spent 20 plus years being out of shape and building fat, and it doesn't go away in an instant because now you want it to go away. It's a very slow process. And sure, there's some things that you can do to expedite it and make it faster, but usually those things end up backfiring. Not going to say that they don't work for some people, because they probably do. We're all different. Every body is different. But for what worked for me was a very steady, slow, and I had friends that were embarking at various parts of my journey, and they were making better progress in certain areas than I was, and it was tough not to want to get excited and jump on the bandwagon of some of these, let's say, experimental type things to do, or very extreme aggressive things. So at times I did want to speed it up. It's tough to wait, but in the end, it ended up being true. Most of those people bounced back, or even ended up putting on more weight, and I just consistently, slowly took it off. Now again, I'm not perfect, but you can see earlier, honestly, I was 38% body fat when I started this journey. 38%. Now I'm 21, so my goal is 15. That's just the where I want to be, where I want to carry. So I'm not an influencer or bodybuilder or anything. I do like to do weightlifting. However, I don't have enough time in my life to just dedicate my whole life to that, which is what I feel you would need to do, if you wanted to look like The Rock or Schwarzenegger or whoever you idol from a bodybuilding perspective. But what I did do is I did end up incorporating resistance training. One point I was doing 6 days a week, which was pretty aggressive, and I felt that I couldn't recover, so I dropped it back down to 1 day on, 1 day off. And I use a push-pull leg split, and then on Saturday, so basically Monday is my push day, Wednesdays are my leg day, Friday is my pull day, and then on the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, doesn't matter which one, depending on my plans and my schedule, I'll do my core and my stomach workout. And that seems to be enough, and where I can recover, and I don't feel beat up and torn up. And I was experiencing, because I'm a little older, I was experiencing some tendonitis, and I pulled a couple different tendons, and it took quite a while actually. My left brachial elbow, so I had a bit of a tennis elbow, and then I ended up having a pretty bad pull up here in my bicep tendon, my shoulder, which held me back for about 8 months. I didn't quit working out while I was experiencing that, but I had to modify my plan. I had to work around it, and so it was harder to work out my biceps and my shoulders, definitely. But I didn't give up. I kept pushing through. Now I'm in a much healthier shape. I'm doing things more conservatively but consistently, and now the pounds are finally, it's been 4 years of this, and now the pounds are finally, I've hit a threshold where my muscle outburns my storage and my diet. And so I wouldn't go aggressive. I'm not in a huge caloric deficit. In fact, I believe that my calories have went up because my movement has went up. But what I do still to this day is I do a bit of carb cycling, a little bit, not to true its form. But what I'll do is I will the days on my workouts, I'll eat my potatoes or my rice or pasta with my dinner, and I'll have my oatmeal. I have protein oatmeal basically for lunch, and then I always have my eggs. And we'll go through another video about my daily food intake. But on the days that I do work out hard, I eat hard, and on the days that I don't, I eat the same amount of protein, but I don't eat the starchy carbs, or I eat a lot less of them. And I tend to try to just have the fibrous veggies, and just going back to the basics. Again, eating at home, home-cooked meals. If you can afford it, get good quality grass-fed stuff. That's just, it tastes better, it's better for everything. However, sometimes, especially nowadays, the prices are just through the roof. So I've even found myself having to go back to just regular meat and regular beef. But you know, it's still better than going out, because you know exactly what's in it. You know exactly how it's been prepared. You can avoid any bizarre oils and trans fats, and give your body a chance to just kind of deal with the food that it knows how to deal with, and not try to force your body to ingest things that it has no idea what the heck to do, that are filled with preservatives and chemicals and God knows what. So just go back to basics and hold tight on that path, and trust me, it will eventually work. It will, I promise you.